get a little bit more overwhelmed anticipating it every year, because every year the pile of expectations seems to rise. There seems to be more obligations that you have to show up for. These could be things that are big or tiny, they could be temporary, or they could be longer term, or they could even be forever. But these are normally things that we feel like we should be doing, or even things that we want to be doing, but we just don't know if we can in the season of life that we're in. Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited to get into today's topic. I think this is so needed and so necessary and just very timely with the time of year that it is. So we are going to be talking in today's video about how to make a holiday to don't list. And you may not have heard of that before. I'll get into all of it, what it is, how you do it, how you can purposefully neglect things for the sake of balance. Beautiful idea and concept that I have lived out in my life and in the rhythms behind the scenes in my life that has absolutely brought so much freedom and so much joy and so much more balance to my life as a whole in the past few years. But I'm so excited to get into this video. If you're new around here, my name is KyAnn and I share lots of content around Christian motherhood, intentional daily rhythms, and simple living. And I would love for you to subscribe if you love that kind of thing. I would love for you to join our little YouTube family and follow along and just come along for this journey with me. I am learning all along the way, and I love to just share it with you in like real life, candid, vlog style videos so that we can just talk heart to heart. Like today I have my coffee, we're just sitting down and chatting and catching up, and I absolutely love this community. I'm so grateful for every single person that is here. And if you're not new around here, thank you so much for watching another video. I am so grateful that you're here. I put whipped cream in my coffee, it's melted now. But today when I'm filming this is the day before Thanksgiving, and I just felt like, the day before Thanksgiving you might as well put whipped cream in your coffee. I mean, why not? You gotta enjoy the little things in life, right? And it is so good. Not that I'm against whipped cream or anything like that, but I just don't do it all the time in my coffee because I have multiple lattes a day. So if I did whipped cream every time on top of that, that would probably be a lot and kind of excessive. So anyways, I save it for like special occasions, and it just makes it feel a little bit more fancy and really fun when you do have it, In the spirit of Thanksgiving, let me just start by saying I truly am so grateful for this community. This is something that I started as just like a little side hobby. I had always dreamed of having a YouTube channel, but just, I don't know, I never felt like I had anything to say or anything that I could really offer on a YouTube channel, so I just put it off for years until I decided to just go for it and see what happened. And this community that has been born from this YouTube channel is so cool to me. Like, there have been so many comments that just encourage me so much, that say that my videos have just really encouraged you in a really dark time, or brought you some joy, or made you feel less alone. And that is exactly what I want to do with my channel. I want to let you know that you are not alone, that there are other people walking through some of these same struggles, these same issues, all of it, that we can walk together and help bear each other's burdens, that we can pray for each other, that we can encourage each other, and just like relate to one another in this crazy journey that is life. So thank you so much again for being here. I love the creative process of making videos, but I love even more getting to know you guys. And every time you leave a comment, it genuinely makes my day. Like, I respond to every single comment and it absolutely makes my day every single time. I get a big smile on my face. I love like actually knowing who you are and why you're here and what you enjoy watching. So seriously, thank you so much for showing up and being here. Okay, the topic of this video. Here's a question. Have you heard of a holiday to don't list before? So I first came across this concept from a lady named Sandy Cooper on the Balanced Momcast podcast a few years ago. And first of all, highly recommend that podcast if you are a mom who is struggling with balance at all in your life. It is incredible. It's so encouraging. It just makes you feel more at peace. Patient's talking in the background. It just makes you feel like more at peace and balance, literally just listening to it, and it has so much biblical encouragement and truth. It's awesome. So highly recommend that. I'll leave a link down below so you can go check that out. But Sandy is the one who first introduced this idea to me a few years ago, and it is something that I've started implementing in the past few years, and it is revolutionary, friends. If you feel like you are already stressed thinking about the holiday season and we haven't even fully entered it yet, if you feel like you love the holidays, you love making all of these memories with your kids, you look forward to so many special traditions and so many sweet moments in it, but when you actually think about the holidays as a whole and you get close to it, you feel like it sneaks up on you more and more every year, and you get a little bit more overwhelmed anticipating it every year, because every year the pile of expectations seems to rise. There seems to be more obligations that you have to show up for. It feels like even just a normal everyday day outside of the holiday season is already honestly a little overwhelming and a little hard to balance everything as it is with motherhood, and if you have a side hustle or a business or like everything, family, all the different things that you have to balance, it's already overwhelming. So then you add in all of the social pressure, all of the obligations, all of the expectations on top of that, and it feels like just a little bit too much, you know? If you feel like you're just trying to get everything done and crossing items off the to-do list and just trying to get it done up until like 2 a.m. on the night of Christmas Eve, I have been there, and there just isn't nearly enough time left over after all of that to actually savor those moments with your kids that you've so looked forward to enjoy the traditions that you've created, because you're constantly so focused on just all the things that have to get done because it's a busy time of year. Then this idea of a holiday to-don't list is for you, my friend. I am all about helping stay-at-home moms find more peace and less overwhelm in their lives through implementing intentional daily rhythms. And that's something we've talked about a lot around here recently. I'll share a little bit more about that later on in the video. But when I first found this idea, because that is where I'm coming from, because I love rhythms, because I love being intentional and slowing down and figuring out different ways to actually implement that in your life, as soon as I heard this idea, I was hooked. And this is now one of my new favorite rhythms in my life the past few years. I use this actually all year long, but especially around the holiday season, I feel like it's even more important. Okay, we've been rambling. Let's get to the point. What is a holiday to-don't list? A holiday to-don't list is basically a list of things that you prayerfully neglect for the sake of balance. These could be things that are big or tiny, they could be temporary, or they could be longer term, or they could even be forever. I mean, the limit on how long it lasts is up to you and totally different just based on each person and each situation. But these are normally things that we feel like we should be doing, or even things that we want to be doing, but we just don't know if we can in the season of life that we're in. As much as we want to do it all, no one can do it all. And the reality is, as much as social media makes us think that everyone else is doing every single thing that they want to be doing, and they're doing everything that we somehow can't manage to get done, they're doing all of that and more, nobody is doing it all. So that being said, you can either intentionally choose to let some things go for a season, whether they are things that aren't as important to you, or whether they are things that are important to you but you know that you have to let go of for a season, so that you don't end up dropping things unintentionally. Because I found that in my life, when I'm trying to balance too many things at once and I'm not willing to let go of anything, then what ends up happening is that I'm not doing all of the things well anyways, and so things end up getting dropped unintentionally, but I'm not planning ahead to let go of those things. So usually it causes a lot more damage, a lot more hurt feelings, a lot more just damaged expectations, all of those kind of things, because I didn't plan ahead to make the hard decision of saying, hey, this is actually a little bit too much for me in this season and I need to say no to this right now. So the idea of a holiday to don't list really helps you to step back and be intentional and look at your holiday season this year. Look at the next month that you have coming up. Look at what the reality of the expectations on your life normally are right now. Like, do you have a newborn? Do you have a baby that's not sleeping through the night? Do you have multiple kids that maybe are just in a hard season developmentally, that are just requiring a little bit more daily attention and effort? Obviously kids require lots of daily attention and effort anyways, but there's definitely those harder seasons of parenting where it just takes a little bit more, and it takes a little bit more of your attention and energy than normal. Or maybe you have a sick family member, or I mean, your husband has a job where he's gone a lot. This could be an endless amount of things surrounding like your reality around your season currently, and it's going to be different for every single person. So to give you some practical ideas, a few examples of some things that could be on your holiday to don't list. This is going to vary from person to person, but a few things to kind of just get you thinking about this is like sending out Christmas cards. Maybe you don't have the budget to send out Christmas cards this year. Maybe Christmas cards aren't actually that important to you, and you just send them out because your mother-in-law or your best friend or whoever it is just expects you to send them out every year and update all of the extended family, but it's not something that you truly enjoy, and it's not something that you really want to spend the money on or put the attention into this year. Maybe you send out like a digital e-card instead, or maybe you drop the whole thing entirely and just put up a Facebook post on Christmas and say, hey, Merry Christmas from our family to yours, you know, like something super simple like that. So as you know, I've shared several times, I created and just launched a week ago a rhythms course. It's called Rhythm Reset Roadmap, and it's basically a resource for stay-at-home moms to help you create more peace and less overwhelm in your busy days, to help you figure out how to actually balance things well, how to create boundaries in your life, how to look at what is actually important to you and what is not, and how to implement those things in your daily habits and routines. Something that I found in my life, and is true in everyone's life, is that there is not a guide when you become a mom. Unless someone else knows about some guide that you are given when you become a mom, there's really no guide. Obviously we have the Bible, which obviously is the ultimate guide, but what I'm talking about specific, like practical, how to make a schedule that is flexible and works for you, but also creates routines so that you know what to expect and your kids know what to expect, how to get more things done with little kids running around, how to entertain your kids and help them to play independently so you can get more things done that way, how to know how much is too much and how to create boundaries around certain areas of your life so that you're not overcommitting and living way past your capacity of what is realistic for the season that you're actually in. All of those kind of things are things that we cover, as well as like actual rhythms around mealtime and around laundry and cleaning and grocery shopping, all of those kind of things. We get into the nitty-gritty of all of the systems in my life, how I put those into place, how they work to help my life really flow on autopilot so I can get more time back with the people I love. And that has been really true for me in the past few years, and with the reviews already coming in from the course, people are saying that exact thing. They are saying that they are getting their time back and being able to be more present with their kids, which just fires me up to a whole nother level. Seeing the reviews actually come in of people who have just started implementing this and aren't even all the way through the course and are already seeing those results is so rewarding and so encouraging. And just, yeah, look at what God can do. Like, just these tiny steps. It doesn't take a lot. You don't have to transform your whole life at once. It just takes one tiny step forward. And this work is so important. Like, this can impact your entire family. You are the thermometer of your home. Like, you set the temperature for everyone around you. When you are stressed or overwhelmed or living in confusion and not knowing how to get more done and just having that constant stress cycle over and over and over again, your family feels that. And the same can also be true when you slow down enough to intentionally prioritize what actually matters to you, to make rhythms around intentionally getting things done that need to get done and being able to be more productive with the time that you have. That all translates as well. Your family feels that as well, and those small steps multiply into so much more. So if any of that sounds like something that you need or something that would be encouraging for you, I will leave the link down below so that you can go get more information and all the details on my course, as well as a discount code just for my YouTube friend. Thank you so much for cheering me on and supporting me in this and spreading the word, like sharing about this, sharing about my channel. All of it is truly so helpful and so encouraging, and I'm so grateful for you guys. Another thing that you could neglect for the sake of balance is going to every single event that you are invited to. Maybe you don't have the capacity to go to every single work party that you're invited to, small group party that you're invited to, gift exchanges that you're invited to, on top of regular family gatherings, extended family gatherings, and all the celebrations that come around Christmas. There is so much joy to be had around Christmas for sure, and there is so much quality time to have with your people, but sometimes it can come just all at once and so quickly that it's just too much all on top of each other, to where you feel like you're not really investing your full attention and presence into the events that you're going to, because you're so drained mentally from the event that you had the night before that you're not fully there. You're like thinking about just being alone in your house for, you know, an hour so that you could decompress and get back to your normal self. Maybe that's just me and my introvert tendencies, but I'm guessing that a lot of other people relate to that as well. And so sometimes you might need to set some boundaries and choose which events are most important to you, or that are most important to the people that you love, because you do have to balance those things. Obviously, we're not just thinking about ourselves fully. Like, we want to love other people well, and if there are events that are very, very important to them, one way that we can love them well is by going to them. But they're also, you just have to hold that in balance, because we can't be just people pleasing the entire Christmas season for everyone, because it's not sustainable. And the reality is, a lot of times, especially if this is coming from a place of people pleasing instead of genuinely like wanting to love them well, like there may be that desire of wanting to love them well, but the ultimate pressure of going to this event or party or whatever it is because you don't want to like damage their opinion of you, and it's coming down to more people pleasing than it is actually wanting to serve and love them well. And I found in my life that when I'm doing a lot of those things and I'm living past my capacity of that actually the worst of that comes out on my family, on my husband, and on my kids, because I'm too rushed. I have too much on my plate, and so I'm like snapping at my kids as I'm trying to get out the door. I'm snapping at my husband as I'm trying to finish making this dish for this event that I said I would go to, that I really didn't even want to go to, and I haven't even had time to sit down with my own kids and family to look them in the face and to enjoy some of these holiday traditions that we've been really looking forward to, because we're so busy going to everyone else's events. I don't know if my words are coming out super clear here, because I want my heart to be, I do think like it is important to love people well, and I do want to honor other people's expectations as well. But again, it's just that whole balance thing of just not being too heavy on one side or the other. Like considering your own family, considering your own boundaries that you need to have for you to be able to love the people in your home well. Another idea of things that you could neglect would be buying gifts for every single extended family member. And this might be something that's just a very real budget restriction as well. Like, we all have budgets, and I know finances can be really hard this time of year, and this may be something that you need to cut back just for that aspect alone, aside from the amount of time that it takes to thoughtfully choose gifts for every single extended family member and how much that piles up both in the budget and the time compartment. So that's another example that you could do. Another one that I thought of is like making every single item that you take to family gatherings from scratch. I love cooking from scratch. I love making my bread from scratch. I love cooking from scratch as much as possible, and in our regular life we cook from scratch probably 90% of the time or more. This is something that is a very regular rhythm in our life. It's just something that we do at this point. But even with all of that being said, I will sometimes neglect to cook from scratch on purpose, intentionally, in seasons that are extra busy. So I will commit to bring things that are very easy to throw together, that are not 100% cooked from scratch, because here's the thing about that. We all love cooking from scratch, and if you love doing it as a hobby and a way to show love to other people, then wonderful. Lean into that. If you have the capacity to do that, and that is like a love language for you and a hobby, something you enjoy, then absolutely keep doing that. But if this is something that is adding stress and you just feel the pressure of, I normally cook from scratch, I say I love cooking from scratch, so I feel like I have to be the girl to bring the elaborate cake that is made from scratch, and the frosting is made from scratch, and the filling is made from scratch, and everything else that you feel like this is just an expectation that you have to live up to, and that if you bring anything else, then it's not good enough, then ditch that. Throw that in the trash and just move on. Nobody cares if it's made from scratch. Nobody cares if you bought it from the store and brought it in another container. Nobody really cares. Like, we all want good food, yes, but ultimately nobody cares if you spent 24 hours making something, or if you just went and picked it up at the store because that was the capacity that you had today. Just bring something. You don't have to stress yourself out more than you need to. Obviously, there are just so many things that you could think about, and I would love for you to comment down below the first thing that comes to mind when you think about neglecting something for the sake of balance this Christmas season. I would love to know what comes to mind for you. But I have a list of a couple questions that I came up with that will help you as you're working through this process to create your actual holiday to-don't list. The first question to think about is, what are the most meaningful family traditions that you do that you cherish and look forward to every single year? I think that's really important to think through and think about what you are looking forward to, what your family is looking forward to, those traditions that you genuinely really enjoy. So think through that, write it down if you need to, and then the next question to think through is, what worked well last Christmas and what did not work well? Think through the Christmas season as a whole last year. If you have any like Instagram or Facebook posts, you could go scroll back through those or your stories to see what you were sharing, and just think about that time in your life. If you can remember anything specifically, obviously it'd be nice if you had like a journal or something like that to look back on, but just think about the season as a whole, and is there anything that stands out that did work really well that you really enjoyed, and is there anything that stood out that did not work well? Honestly, you may even remember the things that did not work well even more than the other. I find that's true in my life a lot of times, that those things that were just like an epic disaster, you just tend to have those stick in your mind for a while. So if there was anything like that, that was an event that you went to, or maybe you were fighting with your husband on the way to a certain event and it was a big argument and, you know, really put a damper on the Christmas spirit, things like that you might remember from the year before. So think through that and think about what did work well and what did not work well. The next thing to think through is, what brings you the most stress about the Christmas season in general? When you think about the Christmas season every year, when you think about the upcoming month ahead, what brings you the most stress specifically? And then the last question I have for you, if you could choose one thing not to do this year, not thinking about anyone else's expectations or obligations or anything like that, just thinking about if you could choose one thing that you would not do this year, what would that be? I find that these questions help you really narrow down and look at, okay, what is actually causing stress and overwhelm about this season? What is an area that stands out that maybe I'm overcommitting in or pushing myself a little bit too far that is just not realistic for the season we're in? And it helps you kind of just get specific about what are some things that you could prayerfully neglect for the sake of balance this year. To give you a few ideas in my personal life, I have not fully completed my holiday to don't list yet this year. I still need to finalize that this weekend, but I wanted to share with you some things that have been on my list, because like I said, this is kind of a regular rhythm that I implement at this point. And so I made a list like this for this past fall, and so obviously we're like coming to the end of fall now, and to give you a reference point in our life, the past few months, we have been very much so busier than we normally are. My husband is going through an online school program for him to get certified in a whole completely different career trade, and so that has taken a lot of time. That takes an average of like 3 hours a day for him outside of his full-time job. I have created my rhythms course that I've talked about, and that took a lot of very focused work and attention to pour everything I had really into creating this resource, making it as value packed as possible. Plus it was just a new thing in general. I've never built out an online course before, so there was a lot to learn like in the back end of that, and even learning like how to implement all the material and get it to all kind of tie together cohesively and be the most impactful and helpful for people. It just was a new thing, so it's a new adventure. It takes a lot of focus and consistent effort and work in, and so that's been something that I've been pouring a lot of time into in the past few months, on top of maintaining this YouTube channel, sharing over on Instagram, and all of the normal things I do as well. And so for us, the past few months, we had to sit down and be really intentional about, okay, what are we going to let go of? Because we have just added a lot of things into our daily life and we have not cut anything out yet. So what are a few things that we can cut out just for this season, for a short time, in order to find balance? Because we knew that we were not going to survive, we were not going to make it, at least not well, if we were going to keep doing all of the things we had been doing before and not allow any margin for that, because we would just be going and hustling 24/7. And while that's okay to hustle harder for a season, I don't believe that it is great to hustle 24/7 and to not have any rest for an extended season. And this was going to be several months. This wasn't just like a week of doing this was several months of doing that. So what we chose to neglect, the first thing may really surprise you, was small group. And as a Christian, obviously that sounds really weird to say, hey, we are not going to go to small group for, it was about a month. I think it might have been 5 weeks. It was really just about a month that we did not go to small groups specifically, because we wanted it to be a pretty short time frame. And that was really hard to come to that decision, honestly. But that is a once a week commitment, and combined with photo shoots in the evenings and everything else we had going on extra, it just, we were past our capacity and we were struggling, and we were like, we have to choose something before it gets to a point where we are just burnt out and one of us either drops what we're doing, which we both felt very specifically we needed to be doing in this season, and we had prayed over a lot and we had prayed together about it a lot, all of those things. We had to drop something, and so we had a lot of conversation, and it was really hard to make that decision. Sorry, my Instant Pot was going off in the background. Anyways, it was something that I really struggled with. I knew as I was praying through it, I could feel that this was an answer that the Lord was giving me, of taking a step back for a little bit, and I felt very convicted in that. But also I felt equally as torn, specifically because I was worried. If I'm being really transparent, I was worried about what my friends in small group would think of us. I was worried that they would think that we were prioritizing work over like our relationship with God or being in community, and both of those things are very, very important to us. And I was just worried that they wouldn't, know our true heart behind it and think that we just came into this and, very fleetingly decided to do that without much intention or thought, and that we were just kind of being flaky, honestly. And that wasn't the case, and I knew our hearts, and I knew how much we had prayed behind the scenes and how much of a struggle it really was to come to that decision, that we did not make that decision lightly. And I knew that I felt very confident in saying for a season that we're going to step back. Like I said, it was only about a month, but that we needed to have that margin to be able to love our family well while balancing these work things that we were doing, that we did feel called to, that the Lord has opened so many doors for both of us. Anyways, just to give you a little peek behind the curtain there, like, it was not an easy decision. It was really hard to come to, and I think when you are being intentional to think through those things, the decisions aren't necessarily easy. Because again, it's not that you don't value those things. Some things may be not as important to you, but a lot of the things that you're neglecting for the sake of balance are very important to you. You just don't have the capacity to do all of them at the same time in the season that you're in. A few other things that we neglected for the sake of balance in the fall was we did not cook any new meals the entire fall. And I am a girl who loves soups. I love all the fall food, but I didn't make any of that this year. So we specifically went to like our staple meals. This is something that I talk about in my course. I have a list of staple meals that I go through regularly, that I know basically like the back of my hand, that are super easy to make. They don't take a lot of time, all of that. And we went down to only choosing from those meals. We did not try anything new, and we did not even do recipes that we have made before, but we don't know how to make them super quickly. Because for us, we found that when we're cooking from scratch at home, if we have a recipe that we haven't done several times, it always takes longer than the recipe says, right? At least for me, half the time I feel like it takes twice as long as the recipe says to actually make it. So we went down to only cooking meals from our staple meal list, which meant honestly our meals were a little bit more boring, and we kind of missed having the soups and all of that, but we also knew that we needed that time of being able to quickly do that and not spending a lot of time making our grocery list every week, not spending a lot of time prepping dinner, just knowing that we didn't have to put like that extra mental effort in. We could just kind of do it on autopilot. That was what we needed for that season, because we were stretching ourselves so far in the work capacities, both of us equally. Adding another mental thing that took a lot of effort on top of that just wasn't realistic. Another thing that we didn't do, we didn't take our kids to the pumpkin patch this year, and that is something we love doing. We have gone every year since we've had kids, and we did not go this year. Anyways, I just wanted to talk through that and give you an idea of what that could look like for you. I hope you found some encouragement from this video, that you found some freedom and knowing that you do not have to do it all, and that, you know, this is going to look different for everyone, but we can make holiday to don't lists, and we can make boundaries, and we can set realistic expectations for ourselves to not set us up for being so overwhelmed and exhausted that we get to January that we don't even know how to pick up the pieces from the craziness of the last month, right? Like, I don't know if anyone else has felt that, but it sometimes feels like, man, it took every ounce of your willpower just to make it through, and then you're just exhausted come January. And I don't know about you, but I really want to make sure that I'm being really present with my kids. They're only going to be little for so long, and I want to really savor and enjoy those traditions that we do have and those sweet moments, and celebrating the real reason for the season, like just all of those kind of things. Really celebrating family and what that means to us, and just being very intentional about the choices we make on how we spend our time, how we spend our money, and knowing that we don't have to do everything as the culture tells us that we do. We really don't. I hope this was encouraging for you, and I would love to know too what kind of Christmas content you would like to see from me. I typically have done like a Christmas homemaking video in the past where I show a little bit of how I decorate. Honestly, those videos have never done super well for me, and I was thinking about that today when I was trying to plan out some Christmas content, and I was wondering if that's just something maybe I shouldn't do. Like maybe, because I don't have a super like Pinterest level house or anything like that, so maybe it's just not super interesting to watch because I have a very real like lived in house. I don't know. I could share some of our Christmas traditions with our kids, different Advent things we're doing. I have some ideas for some things, but I would love to know if you have any ideas of things that you would like to see from me or anything like that around Christmas content. Obviously, there's only a few weeks left until Christmas, so I am planning out that content, and I want to make sure that it's stuff that is really encouraging and things that you will enjoy watching. So let me know in the comments down below, and thank you so much for watching another video. If you're new around here, I would love for you to subscribe, and if you're not new, thank you so much for joining me for another video, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye, friends!